Hey everyone, it's time to look at SMGs, Assault Rifle's short-range cousin. They're another popular choice in Ghost War PvP, and I've seen a variety of SMGs used, some with more success than others. I'm going to take a look at which one will help you have the most success when getting started in Ghost War. Before that though, I just want to warn people about the SMG bug that messes up your accuracy when swapping weapons. You can check out my video about this for more details. First, we're going to take a look at burst damage, recoil, and shot spread. If you haven't seen my previous video on assault rifles, burst damage is just the bullet damage multiplied by the rate of fire. Here we have the Bullpup PDR with a burst damage of 28,000. Looking at the recoil, it has a modest horizontal recoil and a somewhat strong vertical recoil. Next, the Echelon SMG. Its burst damage is significantly higher at 34,200. As for recoil, it's a bit wavier, which will make it harder to control during extended bursts. The Vector has the best-in-class rate of fire and is well known to be a close-range SMG. You can see that after a pretty tight original burst, it pulls quite strongly to the left. Now we got the Scorpion Evo 3 CQC. As the name suggests, it's intended for very close range targets, so range is limited, but it has a very high rate of fire. Other than the final third of the magazine, it has a relatively low recoil. Here we can see that the Echelon and Bullpup have similar recoil patterns with high vertical recoil and somewhat lower horizontal recoil, whereas the Vector and Scorpion have very low vertical but rather high horizontal recoil. I give the edge to the Bullpup and Echelon, as vertical recoil is much easier to control. Next up, we have the MPX, often a popular choice in many shooters. It has a reasonable burst damage of 31,450 and a very low recoil pattern in the first half. I was really interested to see the MP7, as I see a lot of people using it in PvP, but I haven't tried it much myself. You can see it has almost no horizontal recoil, making it very easy to control even in long bursts. It also has a very high burst damage of 34,200. Best in class burst damage, and another popular pick, is the MP5. It has a reasonable recoil, but the shot spread is a bit high, which is going to make your accuracy a bit inconsistent. Finally, the P90. Even though it has a pretty high burst, looking at the recoil and the shot spread, you can see why it's not a popular choice in Ghost War. It's just too inconsistent. Looking here, we can see that none of the other guns can compare to the MP7 when it comes to recoil. The lack of horizontal recoil and easily manageable vertical recoil put this gun in a class of its own. Now I want to compare the range on a few guns. In my last video, I determined that there is not a significant damage drop-off at longer ranges for assault rifles. Let's see if the same holds true for SMGs. First, we're going to look at the MP5, as it has one of the best ranges for SMGs. Due to its high damage, it can 4-shot enemies at close range. It's not until 120 meters that you'll need 5 shots to the chest to down an enemy, and 6 shots at 180 meters. Although this is a bit more damage drop-off than assault rifles, it's still not bad. On the opposite side of the spectrum, we have the Vector. Remember, this gun gets its damage from its high rate of fire, so it's no surprise that it takes 6 shots at close range. But moving to 100 meters, it already takes 8 shots, and at 140 meters, 10 shots to down an enemy. So we can conclude that range does have a significant impact on SMGs. So you'll want to keep that in mind when choosing your weapon. In the end, guns like the Vector and Scorpion Evo are great if you plan on using them strictly for up-close encounters, as the recoil is manageable and they have very high burst. But for enemies at a greater distance, they'll struggle. The MP5 is a good choice if you want to keep a little bit of distance between yourself and enemies, but its recoil and accuracy make hitting shots a little inconsistent. My choice for best-in-class SMG is the MP7. It has very little recoil, very high burst damage, and reasonable range. I think rolling accuracy and range on this gun will allow even new players to beam enemies at close and long ranges. This is my current MP7 setup, but again, you can customize it to suit your own preferences and playstyle. Thanks so much for watching. I'll leave you with a little gameplay and see you in the next video.
Only a single enemy remaining. Shooting. One of your teammates is injured. I need a medic. I'm bleeding over here. Get back to your team and win this thing.
They lost eyes on me.